Hey guys, Mark from Gunpla Network here, and I'm going to do a bit of a different video today. We've done some tool reviews in the past and just finished setting up my new workspace, and after the really popular RG Zakusha custom first look, which thank you for your support on that one, great amount of view and great discussion. I comment and Danik and the other guys all comment as well, so yeah, thanks for that, it was really good. But today what we're going to do is one of the commenters said he's just gotten into Gunpla and Zoids, so it'd be really good if we could do a basic tool review. We've reviewed a basic toolkit in the past, but this time I'm just going to go through the absolute basic tools that I have here on my desk. We'll link in the description to shops that you can get them. Canadian Gundam, obviously the main sponsor at the moment of Gunpla Network, so check out Patrick's shop there. They've got pretty much everything you need, and we'll put some other links down there as well if you're not on that side of the world, you're on this side of the world where I am, where you can find some of this stuff. I'll say it in US dollars and Australian dollars for the pricing, so just work out from there with a converter online if you're in neither of those dollars when purchasing. So forgive the filming angle this time, guys. I'm to the side of the camera at the moment whilst doing this, so hopefully it turns out okay. I think as an absolute basic, first thing I start with on my desk everywhere I have is cutting mats. Now I have two of these in varying states of filthiness. They never stay clean for long, but that's because I do paint, so if you don't paint, it's probably not as much of an issue. So cutting mats come in all shapes, sizes and colors. That's really hard to price, but looking online and around where I've seen them, if you go to a hobby store, they can, not all hobby stores will, but they can be a little on the more expensive side because they're saying they're for a specified thing. But you can actually go to any hobby store, craft store, and you'll pick up a hobby mat for, depending on the size, it could be a few dollars for something like this. The white one that I've got here is my main cutting and hobby mat, and that's an X-Acto Precision Instruments one. This is an A4, and that size is, I'm not 100% sure, but it's actually got line markings and measurements, so you can measure pieces around the edges of it, which is really cool. And this one is, I can't remember where I bought it, I think at my local, and I can't remember how much I paid for it, but like I said, you could be looking in Australian dollars anywhere from $5–10 for a A4 to A3 size mat, and then upwards to $35–45. I think I've seen them for bigger ones. And to be honest with you, don't underestimate the size of the mat you'll need, because you might start with tiny SD kits, but if you're like me and you like to have the parts all laid out, you can quickly fill up a larger mat. So I'll probably get an even bigger one later this year now that these ones are starting to look on the dirty dead side. I just basically sit this one under where I'm painting and mixing paint, and hence all the dirty markings on it. This one got a test spray on it. So that's the hobby mat, very cutting mat. It's basically allow you to cut, you can cut down to a piece, sand, catch your mess, lay your parts out, so on a white mat it would be easier to see like a little black piece you could lose, anything like that. So very, very basic item. Next up, we'll talk about another very, very basic item, nippers. So these are actually a set of God Hand GN125. So they are God Hand nippers, even though they just do look like knockoffs or basic. And I know everyone says God Hand, God Hand. I haven't had a, the high-end pair of God Hands, and I have heard they are well worth the price, but I had some Tamiya basic nippers before this, which looked identical to these ones. And these ones I've now had for over a year and through many kits and still going really strong. I guess don't try to cut anything too thick with them. Don't try and cut whole runner pieces, just down at the thinner piece of plastic to separate it from the sprues, I guess. So yeah, these ones I think I found online at Canadian Gundam would be US dollars, $10.35 a pair. In Australia, it looks like they're about $18–19 a pair. So somewhere in between that for most countries. They're pretty good. You can go anywhere from these. I mean, I've seen nippers for $5 $10 a pair, American, US, and they go all the way up to $80 a pair. So it just depends what you spend. If you're first starting out, I highly recommend getting something on the cheaper side. They will do the same job. Sometimes you do a little more cleanup, but that just serves to improve your skill, really. So nippers, very important. Another important piece of equipment, my trusty hobbyer knife. I am rarely without. So that's just, you can unscrew that. The blade comes out and you replace it with a fresh blade every 1 to 2 builds for myself. Now I use that just for scraping off edges of sprue, sometimes cutting a line into some ply plate I might be cutting, but that hobby knife I think looking online, anywhere from $7, $8 US up to $15, and here in Australia I saw it on the link below, you'll get from my local hobby store, Hobbyco, you'll get it for $12.95, and it comes with a pack of spare blades. A pack of spare blades I bought online last year when I finally ran out of them, because let's face it, depending on how much you build and what you use it for, you will actually get a bit of life out of the pack of blades that comes with it. 2 years for my first one, though now I'm going through them a bit faster because I build more. So that was $12.95, which great buy. And when you get to more advanced building and stuff, when you're scribing, the MadWorks chisel blades actually fit in here as well, so I didn't have to pay $20 for the handle for the chisel blades to fit into. I could just slot them straight into here, so bonus saving right there. Another basic tool, this is the Wave HT196 parts separator. I've reviewed this before, which we'll put in the description down below. And all this is, if you've accidentally done it, and I'm sure we've all done it, I know I've done it a few times, I recently did it on the RG Zaku, I put the polycap in backwards, or the part is in some way not correct, and you need to pry it back open. For God's sakes, please do not use the edge of your knife, guys. You can slice your finger, slice into the plastic, make all sorts of mess. This you still have to be careful with, as discussed in the review, because it's not sharp, but it does have a sharper edge, it's not dull. You can still scratch and slice the plastic, but you can get in and wiggle the part between the parts and separate them without breaking pegs and polycaps and all sorts of stuff. So this will run you anywhere from, if you don't get the Wave one, they do make ones that just look similar, and that could be anywhere from, I think it's about $3, $4 up to $10. They're under that. They're not in US and Australian. They're not very expensive at all. So a good tool to have, a part separator. For applying stickers and sometimes even just dropping a polycap in, I don't know where I got these. They were just an angled fine point pair of tweezers. Tweezers you can find for about $10 a pair, about $12.95 here in Australia at my local. They were for a pair. And they're great. Just obviously you can see the fine pointed tip and angle for applying decals, stickers, small parts, and getting into things particularly like SDs and HDs and RGs where they have small parts to them. So they're a very just basic sort of thing to have. Now, sanding paper and sticks. Now, I guess there'll be a bit of a debate on this one. I have sourced mine from all over the place. Obviously you can see I have a varying, sort of thing here. These are actually Manicure Sticks from my local supermarket, surprisingly or not, just for a couple of dollars here in Australia. For a couple of dollars I got a whole pack. These would be the equivalent of like 180, 300 grit. They're really harsh, really coarse. You will wear the hell out of plastic, but sometimes you get a really big nub you need to sand back, or sanding some putty or something, glue, something like that. They're great for, because they will take a lot off in small motions. So be careful. This is a more one that I use on just when I've taken a part off the sprue and I'm cleaning it up. A medium and a fine, still coarse but fine. So you can buy all these sanding sticks online too. Like I said, they do, sanding sticks will run you from, you know, $2-3 to $30. I've seen them for ridiculous pricing, but you do need them as far as I'm concerned. So this is another nail manicure product. It's actually a nail file, a removal of ridges, smooth, and then ultra smooth. Now I use this when I'm finished all other cleanups and I've got nothing else left to do, because that is still finer than the finest piece over here. Probably about a 1400 grit, something like that. And then on so until you hit something like a 2000 grit, where it just feels like nothing, but it is actually shining the part when you're done. I've picked up a pack of 20 of those for $8 online, and coming from overseas somewhere. And yeah, they're pretty awesome. So sanding blocks like that, they're like those. You can also get the really coarse blocks, hardware stores, stuff like that, but you can also purchase those online. You'll see the Canadian Gundam website. Now sandpaper, when I'm sanding, I go 600, 800, and I usually finish with 1200, or like I said, up to this one. So obviously the lower the number, the coarser the grit, the higher the number, e.g. 2000, 3000, 4000 grit, it feels like nothing, just like the smoothness of your desk here, but it will help you. So depending on how much effort you want to put in and how good you want the kit to look when you finish, I would start with something like a 600, 800, 1200. They can be gotten from the website there, and we'll put the link to the whole section there. There is actually a ton to choose from. So, and that about wraps it up for basic tools. Next up on the tools, so depending on how hardcore you want to go with your, like I said, basic stuff, I'll include this just because these are handy to have around. Removal of seam lines, breakages of parts, accidents happen, things fall off shelves, stuff like that. Sometimes you need to glue something together. So extra thin cement has a capillary action. It will run into the cracks and actually just, you know, fill in things like that. So that can be really helpful. This white version of the Tamiya cement is just the standard, and it's more viscous. So this is a very low viscous, runny like water glue. This is a, whilst being a quick dry version. There's actually two versions of this glue, I should mention, guys. Sorry, that's not the quick setting one. So you have the thin quick setting, thin not as quick setting. I've never timed the difference, but apparently this one is much more. This is the newer one. It's much more quick setting, and that was $8.95 Australian. This one was also $8, $8.95 Australian, and this one was $6.95 Australian for the thicker version. Will take longer to set, much thicker, but I use that when seam lining. So now what we've done is, because I'm obviously here in Australia and I have these on here on my hobby desk, I'm using the Tamiya version because that's what's easily available to me. Mr. Cement by Mr. Hobby, Mr. Color, Krios, that's sounding familiar. That's the ones that's on Canadian Gundam, and you'll see in the links below, you have the Mr. Cement Yellow is the equivalent of this, which is the thicker glue. Cement Deluxe, I think it's called. You then have Mr. Cement S, which is a thin capillary action thin glue, and then the SP, which I believe is the equivalent of this one, which is a fast setting thin glue that will run through and get into all the cracks and stuff. You have to be careful with these ones, guys, because if you put those in and you put too much, they will run straight into the crack of your poly cap and seize the whole damn thing up, and you'll never be able to move that joint or poly cap or leg again, or arm, whatever you put it into. Okay, so like I said, these range from $6 to $10 Australian, and going off of the Canadian Gundam website, which has a sale at the moment, looks like they range from $2.95 to $4.95, and they're probably not much above that at standard pricing. Glue is just one of those perishable cheap items. So, okay. All right, guys, that is it for tools and stuff, really. The only other things I keep on my desk, paper towel. I have these little eyedropper, which for water and cleanup, thinners, stuff like that. I keep toothpicks for smoothing over if I put too much glue, wiping up excess stuff like that. And tons of sanding sticks, tweezers, knives. I also have these around, which are just like a small flat file, which you can also use to remove the glues or putties and stuff like that when you're done. But that starts to get a little more advanced. Basically what you want was that stuff we first talked about. So you can also get a basic tool set, which will include nippers, knife, tweezer, possibly a file, stuff like that. The Tamiya basic set here in Australia will sell for $35.95 from Hobbyco, and the tool set that I saw online, Canadian Gundam, is US $15.26, and that contained nippers, tweezers, flat file. So that's about it, guys. It was meant to be a short video today, but I have gone 15 minutes, 14 minutes, something like that. So thanks very much for joining me, and I'll be back with another review shortly. All right, catch you later.